New Momentum, a reflective practice for 2025. The purpose of this practice is to help you enter 2025 with fresh momentum, a deeper understanding of the version of yourself you're carrying forward. It's an opportunity to step into the new year with greater belief, awareness, and confidence, not as the person you were last year, or 2 or 5 years ago, but as who you are now. I've chosen to provide this practice as a video rather than just a written exercise, because it engages different senses. We consume so much on our screens with our eyes, and this offers a chance to listen, reflect, and experience something more immersive. As you participate, I encourage you to be in a quiet space where you won't be disturbed. Have a pen and paper ready. While many of us are used to typing on screens, manually writing things down allows our brains to process information in a different, deeper way. Before we dive in, let's start with a simple question. What are your immediate thoughts about the last year? What is your gut reaction? Just a top-line feeling. Take a moment to write down a few words. We'll return to this at the end. So just make a few notes here. Just a few things that come to your mind about the year that's gone past, and just leave them there. Try not to think too much. So as we start, we're going to do a grounding exercise. And to do that, we are just going to take a moment to adjust how you're sitting. Feel the balance of your body in the chair, the connection of your feet to the floor. If it feels right, kick off your shoes and feel your feet really on the floor. Stretch out your arms, reach above your head, let your body release any tension. Now try and settle in a comfortable position. Close or half close your eyes and tune into your body. Take a deep breath in for the count of 4 and exhale slowly for the count of 6. In and out for 6. In and out for 6. In and out for 6. Keep your eyes shut. And as you breathe, focus on the space between your ears, the back of your neck and down your body. Your shoulders, back, thighs, the soles of your feet, and finally your toes. Just with your eyes shut, just feel your whole body. And when you're ready, you can gently open your eyes. And now we're all set. There are 10 questions here. And for each one, I invite you to reflect not just from your head, but also from your heart and your gut. You can place a hand on each area as you move through this perspective. It helps create space for deeper listening beyond the surface thoughts of the mind. Take your time, there's no need to rush. You can return to these questions as often as you need to. So the first question that you may want to write down is, what moments in your career this year made you feel most alive and fulfilled? Just think about that. Just think about what made you feel alive and fulfilled this year. Think about the environment, the task you were doing, what you were involved with, the people around you. How did it feel to be truly alive in those moments. I know for myself that there are a few things that have made me feel really fulfilled and alive this year. Some of them were in that space where you're outside your comfort zone and it's that excited, scary space, which is actually feeling alive. And some of them, when you're most fulfilled, especially for me, is certain of the clients that I've worked for this year. And I will be sitting with this question, just as you are, to work out what was actually happening in those scenarios. You know, what was important about them, because I will want more of those in the year ahead. You can take a pause here if you want to before the next question, and write your answer, or you can come back to this particular question. Following on from that, what achievements and successes did you celebrate this year? And this is a really important one because we don't always fully acknowledge our accomplishments. We don't always celebrate the successes. It's so easy to just brush them aside and to just get on to the next thing. But we need to celebrate when we do well. We need to let those achievements sit with us and celebrate with us. Because, most importantly, the brain is much better at spotting negative things in our lives than the positive. Our actual sort of internal wiring system is actually geared up for that. It's harder to sit with success and achievement and the positive and let it sit, which is why we need to make time for it. We need to make quite a lot of time so we actually own what we've done. What did it take for you to accomplish what you did? You know, we need to think about this. Really important. Again, you can pause here if you want to spend some more time, or we go on to the next one, which a lot of people might find comes to mind easier because of what I just said about how the mind works. But that is, what challenges did you face and how did you grow from them? And these might not just be within the workplace, they may also be within your personal life. I ran this session fairly recently, and a number of people had dealt with sort of difficult situations in their lives, personally, where people had through ill health or had passed away and they had to deal with quite significant challenges. But we don't always think in hindsight about how we actually got through those times, what enabled us to deal with them. At the time, we might not have felt we dealt with them at all. But actually, with the benefit of a bit of space and perspective, we can actually sort of acknowledge that there were certain parts of us that enabled us to get through those difficult times. And what does that tell you about yourself if you've got that capability? So it's not just the challenges, but how did we grow from them? What did you learn about yourself? Again, if you want to spend some more time here, please do, and pause before going on to the next part of these questions. So the fourth question is, are you aligned with your values in your work? If not, what needs to change? So why are values so important to you? Well, you may or may not know what your values are. You may come up with a few words that guide you. You may need to spend a little bit of time to consider this in more detail. Just as an example, some of my key values are love of learning, growth, autonomy, freedom, and supporting others. It's not surprising that throughout my career, I ended up working for smaller and smaller organisations, having more freedom, and also ended up working for myself, which is the ultimate freedom and autonomy. when I look back at some of the organisations I worked for in the past, where I didn't have autonomy, I didn't have freedom, there was a lot of repetition, routine, focus and control. That didn't work for me. I can look back at that now and know that. And actually, it doesn't bother me that I didn't stay in that role, or I don't spend ages going, well, why didn't that work out? And perhaps I should have stayed there. I know it was the right thing to do to move on. But also, misalignment with values can contribute to burnout. If being misaligned with your values is like pushing water uphill, we can get frustrated, critical about where we're working, and it can be quite difficult to sort of get through the day. Friday just seems a struggle. When we're in alignment with our values, everything just seems much easier, it flows. So if you're trying to work out what that thing is that's getting in the way, that thing that you can't put your finger on that's causing issues, I'd just spend some time looking at your values. Again, you might want to take a bit of time here, pause before we go on to the next question. So question 5 is, what skills, talents or capabilities are you not using in your current role? And we quite often get paid for things that other people value us for. They're things we can do. But sometimes we're not using all of our capabilities or only part of them. And after a period of time, that become really frustrating, or we're not getting the growth that we need. So take some time to consider what you do every day in your work. What talents are you using? What skills, what capabilities, what own personal mastery are you using? And only using part of it. Because this is a question that may guide you next year. Do you want to be using more of your skills and talents and capabilities than you are now? Is it frustrating that you can't? Does it feel that though part of you is missing when you're doing your work? So take some time to consider this. What skills, talents, or capabilities are you not using in your current role? Again, you may want to pause the video here so you can take a bit more time before moving on to the next question. Question 6 is, what is the no you keep postponing? Now, this is a really interesting one because it's about considering here what takes up your time and energy that you'd rather direct elsewhere. Are you spending some of your time acting out of obligation? This may be at work, it may be in your personal life. It can be really difficult to say no sometimes, but there are ways of doing it. And quite often when I work with people who start saying no in various ways, they're completely amazed at the difference it takes in their lives and how much of their life they actually get back. The amount of clients I've supported who've stopped working late in the evenings, who've stopped answering emails after they were due to leave, who have pushed back deadlines, who have said that they can't get something done at a certain time and ask for more resource to help them get there, have found that they're all different ways of saying no. And if you're not used to it, it can be quite difficult. It can be like taking a huge step. But for the majority of people, when they start doing this, they realise that the people around them don't see it as a huge thing. To you, it might be, but to others, not so much so. They just accept and actually take at face value what you're saying. I've also stopped doing a voluntary commitment this year. It got to the point where it was taking up too much time. It was something I want to do, but actually I was doing it out of obligation and I thought I should do rather than really wanting to. It was time to move my energies elsewhere. And I decided to stop, and it's made a big difference to my life this year. So what are you saying no to? Yeah, what do you need to say no to? On to question 7. How have you been supported with your well-being this year? Did you prioritize your well-being, or did work come first? This can be a really hard one to shake, even when some quite difficult situations have arisen, that we get caught back in what I call push energy. We just keep thinking we should push through, keep going, and actually not listen to ourselves, particularly listen to our bodies, and actually work out what we really need. So, did you take enough time off? Did you take holidays? Did you push them back? Did you commit to do something when you weren't feeling great, when you perhaps should have been looking after your body? Do you come from an environment or perhaps a culture where work always comes first? I grew up with that, or if you just go to work, you'll feel better sort of scenario. It was all for the right reasons, but actually it meant that there were certain times in my life when I should have stopped and I didn't. So have a big think about, have you supported your well-being this year? And if not, what can you do next year? Question 8. Which beliefs held you back and which propelled you forward? Now, this is about the stories that you tell yourself about your capabilities. And they may be stories that you tell yourself that actually came from years ago. Are there chapters that need rewriting before you move into the year ahead? What type of narratives, what type of thoughts come up that you say about yourself? I can't do this, that's not for me, other people do that, not me. These types of things can get built up, and they're actually affirmations. There might be some people watching this that think, affirmations, oh, some people do them, I'm not sure if I want to. Most people do affirmations every single day. They've been doing them their whole life. They're just not the ones you see on the reels and TikTok or on social media posts. They're the ones, I can't do this, is an affirmation. Other people do that. I haven't got enough skill and capability to do that. They're all affirmations, but they're all the negative ones. So what do you need to rewrite about the way you think about yourself, the stories that you tell yourself before you move ahead? Hopefully, in the questions that you've answered previously, you'll start to see evidence that goes against some of the beliefs that you had. The things you need to celebrate, the challenges you overcome, the capabilities you're not using at the moment. They may be all information you can use to help rewrite some of the beliefs that are holding you back. But also, there may be some beliefs you have about yourself that do enable to propel you forward. How can you use that more? How can you expand that? How can you elevate those beliefs that propel you forward as you move into next year? And question 9 is, who were the key people who supported or positively influenced your year? There's a fantastic quote by Brené Brown, and that goes, we don't have to do it all alone. We were never meant to. I work on my own. I'm my own boss, but I don't do this alone. I have people around me who support me. I have individuals who are my mentors. I have coaches. I have friends who support me and positively influence me. I have a range of individuals I can turn to, and I do turn to. I never used to, but I now acknowledge the people who support and positively influence my year. Some of the people that influence me, I don't know at all, but they might be in the terms of an author of a book or a number of books that actually have an impact on me. One of my favourite authors is Gabor Mate, and he's in the area of mental health. And he has positively influenced me with some of the books he's written and I've read this year. So, who were the key people who supported or positively influenced your year? Take some time to think about it. What environments were they in? What was the impact? How could they support you next year? Are there other people you need to search out who could support you next year? And finally, what would it be like to be fully aligned with your unique self and capabilities in 2025? Use your head, your heart, and your gut. Allow yourself to dream without worrying about the how. Just think about what it would be like to be fully aligned with your unique self and capabilities in 2025. What difference would that make for you? Again, you can pause here, really spend some time with this one. Let yourself, dream, let the visions come up, let the thoughts come up, and put the how to one side. Just have that vision of what it could be like. Now take a moment to revisit those initial headline thoughts you jotted down at the start of this practice. How do they sit with you now? Has anything shifted or deepened through this reflection? Consider the benefits of taking time for yourself. Reflection creates clarity, alignment, and a sense of intention for the future. By understanding the version of yourself you're carrying into the next year, you've laid the foundation for meaningful growth and sustainable change. As you move forward, keep returning to these insights. They are your guide, not just for planning, but for living with greater authenticity and purpose. So that's the end of this reflective session. Take some time with this, come back to the questions a number of times and sit with them and allow other information to come up, because this will help you as you plan for next year. You need to know your starting point to chart your course forward. And this reflective practice enables you to do that. Wishing you all the very best for 2025.